Everybody's in the here. Let me rename myself so people know who I am. And then we're just waiting for, I thought Jeff was coming, but. Okay, Joe asked to be moved up on the agenda, but he's still not in the room yet. So, so whenever you want to start, Jonathan.
Okay, let's get started. This Monday, October 10th, Indigenous Peoples Day. We'll start with a roll call. Just state your name if you are present. I see all your smiling faces.
Armel Futterman, present.
Great.
Andy Rafael, present.
Yeah.
Amir Movafagi, present.
Okay. I'm Jonathan Shambroom, present. So we have quorum, and we shall begin. We're going to switch the order, but we'll start with
Well, he's not here yet, so we can't start without him.
approval of the consent calendar. Why don't we do let's approve the minutes from the August 8th meeting. So
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, seconded. Amel seconded. Yep, seconded. Okay, so approved.
So we got to vote. Did you all approved?
Yep, approve. I'll approve. So while we're waiting for Joe, Franklin, if Joe does appear and enter the room, just let me know, please. And until then, we'll continue. So we're now on item number 3, public comment. We'll hear any and all public comments on matters over which there is jurisdiction. Are there members of the public that wish to comment tonight?
There are currently no members of the public present.
Okay, great. And moving on, item number 4, board member reports and comments. Are there any board members this evening who wish to comment or raise a topic?
Nothing to comment or bring to the board.
Yeah, I didn't have anything.
Okay. I did not either. So we'll move to the next item, and that is number 5, the library director's oral report. Franklin Escobedo.
Okay, so we'll start off with the good news. As you all are aware that we did get the grant from the state. They gave us our full asking price, so $5.2 million. And as you know, the Commons is very close to the 5 million goal. So we almost have a match. Today was also the first council meeting on the library and City Hall. So they brought the meeting together at 3 o'clock. So once the recording is out, I'll send you guys links to it. But it really was just setting the groundwork for the preliminary stuff. We still do not have the guidelines from the state. I keep looking in the mail every day, trying to see when these guidelines, they said it was 2 weeks after the letter, but they still have not arrived. So once we get the guidelines, we'll know exactly what we can spend the money on and what we can't spend the money on. And so from the get-go, we know that a lot of the exterior stuff, like the garden, any kind of garden, any kind of landscaping, and the parking lot all have to be taken care of by us. But we did get the $1 million grant from Levine's office, so I think that will go to help with the parking lot. I think that's what we told the state. We'll do that process. But Julian just laid out the groundworks of what we're going to do. It's a design build process. So they'll get the RFQs and the RFPs ready to go to send that. And then we just need to know how much we can go into, how much we can spend, because that design review is basically, we're going to tell them we have this much money, what can you build us? And so that's what that process will be. There'll be some, because basically all the RFQ candidates will get to give their proposals and then show us their design concepts. So we will get to look at them before the city does decide on one. So it's a little different process than they've done in the past, but we have done a lot of the studies already that were from the last time we were doing this. So they have traffic surveys, all the air stuff, all the different kinds of things that go around it. So they don't have to repeat that process. Today also, Julian showed us a little concept of what the traffic flow would be to the driveway of where the the entrance will be to the lot, but a lot of it's all preliminary. It's still got to go through. We've got to find out what the state's going to let us spend the money on and what they're not going to let us spend the money on. So just getting that packet will really help us start moving forward, but it will be a very quick process because there is a deadline to spend all the money. So we're still not sure if the state has extended that deadline because it took way longer than they thought to award it. So we're just waiting for those guidelines to come in. So that's it. It's all exciting. So that's really it's getting to go. But there's going to be another special council meeting on the 26th. And again, it'll be in the afternoon, I think. So just to keep your eye out for them. And I know in November, they'll have more talks about the City Hall building, because that's really one of the big concerns a lot of people have is the building. I guess there's rumors going around that we're going to be noisy over on Rose Lane, but there are city of noise ordinances that we're not going to exempt ourselves from the law. So any kind of noise compliance would be within the legal limit. So, but yeah, we asked Joe Jennings to come today so he could give you guys an update about where their progress is and all the exciting stuff that they're working on. But so that's the grant. So the bad news is we lost a librarian to Tibb. So we're short-staffed again. And last week was a bad week because I got sick. One of the librarians got sick. And then it was just Teresa and a couple staff, so it was skeleton crew. And I wasn't sure if they were able to open on Saturday or not, because we really did have very limited staff. But losing the librarian to Tibb has put us back where we were a few months ago when we were short-staffed. We're still reaching out to the candidates to see if anybody's interested from the last pool of librarians. So hopefully that will move quickly. But we're still, a lot of it is still just, it's going really slow because we only have one HR person. But she's doing her best she can, and hopefully we'll get the library aides hired, and then hopefully a new librarian. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that the person is interested in the job, and then it has the experience to do that, because we'll probably have to interview them again because it is a supervisor's role, which wasn't in the initial part of the interview process. So I just want to make sure that they're comfortable supervising. And I know a lot of times people don't put their full background on their applications because they try to put what's relevant. But supervising, they could have supervised in another capacity in another place. And a lot of librarians supervise, but they don't realize they're supervising, or they still don't write it down. So, because I have a lot of teen librarians who supervise hundreds of teens, which is a lot of work. So that experience rolls into it as well. So hopefully that won't take too long, but it is putting us in a precarious spot where we're one cold away from closing, because we can't operate with the limited staff we have when people are out sick. So that's the bad news. So, but hopefully that will be resolved. We still have the lockers going really well and a lot of other stuff. We're working on getting some of the furniture back in so we can expand the capacity. We've restarted Read to a Dog, that little Humane Society brings in a dog every Wednesday, and they're reading to them again. And then we're just getting ready to figure out how we're going to do our indoor programming, especially once the weather turns. We've got to figure that part out. But so that's the update for me for right now. Other than all the other stuff I do, I'm trying to keep ahead of. And yeah, and we'll talk more when we get to the strategic planning part too. So,
Franklin, for the librarian that we lost to Tibb, do you have any insight of like what the reason was?
Well, I think one was pay, but I also think it was, I have a suspicion that it may have been a cataloging job, because Laura, who used to work for us, retired. And so she moved away. So I know that job was open, but I haven't got confirmation from the director there or not. So, and our employee was very private. So I don't know a lot. All I know is that we lost them. But that we know that's going to happen here because a lot of the libraries have more room for advancement, where if you're trying to build your career, Larkspur will be that stepping stone before you go off to somewhere else to get there. So.
Okay. Does that conclude your oral report?
Yeah, so that's it for the oral report. So.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that. We'll now move to item number 6 on the agenda, the old business items, starting with an update on library activities and programs.
So, we had a magic show that happened on a day we were closed. So Teresa did the magic show in the park, and then she came back to the library and they did some operations. Story time's going really well, and we've had a recent Fire Smart Garden Talk with Tony Gattoni. That was really good. If you haven't seen it, they are recorded. If you haven't prepared your home, I always follow those rules. They're really great guidelines on how to prepare for a disaster. The book clubs are going, and we're on track to start a new teen advisory board. We put out advertisements at the high school and at the other, I think both high schools should know now. So hopefully we'll start getting some teens in here that create an advisory board. And then they'll, like I keep telling Jess, they'll help us develop the programming, because getting their buy-in will actually have them come in. But we do know that a lot of them are looking for the books that we don't have right now, which I've talked to the friends about as well. And for the future, when we expand the collections, when we get a new space. So, but yeah, those are it for the activities. I'm working on the state report, so I'll have better numbers for you next month with all the ins and outs and all the things that they want and ask for. So, and now that we're open 5 days a week, all our days are counted this year. So unlike last year, anytime that we did curbside, it was not counted as an open day. So it really throws the hammer into the way they do their statistics. But oh, I think I just got an email from Joe.
Franklin,
Uh-huh.
when you mean both high school for the team advisory board, which are those?
The Catholic high school that's over on Sir Francis Drake, and then Redwood that's over here. So, because even though that it's the Catholic high school is technically in the county, I think.
No, that's okay. I was just wondering. And are you also reaching out to San Andreas and Tamiscal, which are separate high schools that depend of the same TAM district? They're right. They're in
Well,
Larkspur.
do our residents go there? That's the big question.
Yes.
Do our teens do? Okay.
Yes. There are special.
Oh yeah, I remember the two little ones. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'll have make sure
high
that we
school,
reach out
yeah.
to them too. I keep forgetting we have those two little ones all together.
Yeah, because those are for kids who do things differently.
Mhm.
So that they might be very interested in something that has leadership
Mhm.
component in it, and we might be able to recruit more students from there than from regular high school, where they have a regular curriculum with all the sports that involves.
And that's what I told Jess too. You got to find that one team that becomes the Pied Piper, and then that brings all the other volunteers in, because that's how I did it in Oceanside. You get a couple of good ones, they bring in more volunteers, and then it just starts growing from there. So, but as we get more teams in the building and more young kids see the teams, they'll be more excited to join once they get old enough to join. So,
and the counselor at Tamiscal, which is the little one that's across from the park, on Piper Park, I forget her name right now, but she's extremely dynamic. So, she has a handful of kids and she knows them well. So she will be able to just hitch it just right to the right kid.
yeah, and then I found out from the fire chief that we have some at-home daycares in town, and I'm like, oh, I need to find them so we can send Teresa there. So we can track all those down. So, so we can make sure that we're doing outreach to them as well. So
that's a good idea.
And notice that Joe is with us now.
Yep.
So let's move to the reports from our support group, starting with Joe, and then we'll return to 6.2. We'll come back to the agenda.
okay.
Hello, Joe.
Hi, I apologize for jumping what do they call it? Jumping the queue in England? I think it's called. Anyway,
Yeah,
the afternoon city council meeting sort of moved everything out in the schedule. We have really great news, to be honest with you. The city council meeting, I don't know how many of you sat in on it, was very positive. You know, the stars have aligned for getting a new library built. The city seems to be 100% on board. We're getting increasing community support. And that's really great. And so where we are is, you know, we are at under $300,000 left to raise of our $5 million target. And we're on track to do that. And our community match, which is we've had donors put up $60,000 in community match funds. 29,000 has already been matched. So that was, you know, that was our strategy to pick up about over a third of the remaining money. So that's come along really well. on the community side, we've launched a program called Why I Love the Library. And it may sound a little orthogonal, but we wanted a vehicle to get into every school and every children's art program in the region. And so I don't know, Franklin, can I share screen and just
Yeah, you can share screens, Joe.
let me make sure I don't have anything weird up first. So the art program, and Franklin's helping, which is great. But the goal of it is to say to people, have your child send in a work of art, and it can be a range of things. Can you see this?
Yep.
Yes.
So it can be physical art, digital art, poetry, video. And all you're answering is the question, why I love libraries. And the idea, our hope was that we would find distribution channels beyond what we've had in the past. And so as of right now, and I'm still getting more information back, the library is a distribution channel. Thank you, Franklin. Drawbridge, which is a 501c3 teaching art to underprivileged children in the Bay Area, is distributing the materials to their points of contact in Marin. Copperfield's Books is displaying it in the store. The Larkspur Corte Madera School District, Dr. Brett Geithman, the superintendent, has helped us move it into Neil Commons, the Cove, and Hall Middle School. And then Nugget Markets sponsored the ad in the Marin IJ that'll run for the month of October. And so we are working on additional points of contact: Marin Primary and Middle School, California Poets and Schools, St. Pat's, Kentfield School District, Masterworks Children Art, Book Passage. And then we have people who are stepping up to give prizes. So, for example, Burritoville has done that, and some other folks. So, I know you find this hard to believe, but I didn't think it would be efficient if we just started asking people, just give us a 20 for a brick. That seemed kind of dim. So, but art, and the theme of why I love libraries, is a beautiful distribution mechanism, and it gets the word out to a whole tranche of people that we first saw at Touch a Truck, which Barbara Friday and the Friends hosted. Then we saw them again at the 4th of July event. If the parents had babysitters, we saw them at the wine stroll. And so now we're in the lunch bucket coming home. Do they even have lunch buckets anymore? I don't know. Anyway, we're in the materials coming home from the schools, and we're hoping that a whole broad group of people that we couldn't reach otherwise will hear about this, have their kids submit artwork, and possibly go to the website, and if they're interested, support it. So that's the art program, and that's sort of the point of the spear of the community campaign.
What a great program.
Yeah, I mean, even some of my board members finally heard about it through their children, so I was impressed.
Yeah, I think some of the Commons Board came in this weekend or last week and was putting them up around town too. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, we have a poster team that if you stand around very long, you'll have a poster stapled to your back. I mean, they're out there. So yeah, and I think it's important also that it isn't tied to an ask. We're asking for the children to be creative. It'll be on our holiday card at the end of the year, and will be unveiled at an event in November that we're doing with Parks and Rec. But we wanted it to just be pure community outreach.
Mhm.
And if it generates incremental funds, that's great.
Joe or Franklin, have any submissions been dropped off? I see it's open from October 1st to November 1st for drop off at the library.
Well, I was out sick the end of last week, so I need to check. So, but yeah, I was hoping we get. I've also let the county library know that people may drop them off at their libraries, because when you see Love My Libraries, they might not realize they should be bringing it to Larkspur. So I've let the other directors know.
Well, that was very nice of you. Thank you. Hadn't even thought of that. There are all these ways that these things can mess up. So that was good thinking. Thanks, Franklin.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan, normally, if it's anything else like other assignments, a whole bunch of work will happen right at the end, which will be fine.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And on the rest of the Commons Foundation, you know, the city is moving through the process to put together a team to run the RFP process with the design build with architects. They will specify and build the 6,845 square foot library. And there'll be actions by the city council in the coming 2 months that will start to move that down the runway. And so our goal is maximize how much cash is on hand, pledge in cash on 12/31, so I can get into the totals for the RFP.
That's great.
So that's all we got.
No, thanks, Joe. I really wanted you just to give the board an update of what was going on and what was happening. So this is
And I have to admit, it's so critical that the library, this art thing is in the library, and there's a librarian who can explain it to a child if the child has a question, because we don't have that kind of personal point of contact. And also that the library has links now to our foundation, a big one, so that you see, you know, the library wants you to go to the Commons Foundation to help support build the new library. So there's really an amazing level of coordination with the city now on this project. And, you know, we're not there yet, but we're getting there. So.
Yeah, I hadn't been on the website in a while, and I was just looking at the contest, and I mean, there's all kinds of good information on here. So the more we can get people to the site, it's really well done. I just hadn't been on here in a little while.
Yeah, and Andy, we've cranked way up our social media, and we're boosting it, which now through Facebook is a little weird because we're an organization and all this other stuff. But a lot of our marketing budget right now is in social media, in our zip codes, pushing people to either repost or come to the website, or frankly, or just go to the library.
Mm-hmm.
So
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So once again, I mean, Joe, I want to, on behalf of all the library and the community, thank you for your tireless work on this, and work with the Commons Foundation. Just landing that grant is monumental. And
so the city did that. To be honest with you, Jonathan, I mean, the beauty of what's happened is Franklin and Dan Schwartz and Julian Skinner put together a grant application. When we started this, we never expected state money. I mean, Armel was there. If 3 years ago you had said to me, oh, there's going to be $500 million of state money available, Armel, help me here. I don't think that was on our horizon. And they took advantage. Yeah, and they took advantage and put in a grant, and it helped us raise the 5. So we are very, very blessed. You should not confuse this with expertise or anything, Jonathan. We're just a bunch of good factors came together at the same time. So anyway, any other questions or comments? If you have contacts at the schools, if you could encourage them to participate, that would be great. If you're in a parent organization, if you can get the art project into their newsletter that goes out, that would be great. If you have children, or grandchildren, put in art, because I think it's going to be a great way to end the campaign with a collage of children's mixed media art on why they love libraries. That's the right tone at the end of the game. So that's everything for me, Franklin and Jonathan. No other needs?
I
No?
think, Amir, did you have a question or?
No, I was just gonna say that I will definitely do my part in terms of spreading the word. I'm on the LCMSD board and also involved with a bunch of the school committees that can spread the communication, at least in Neil Cummins and anywhere else I can reinforce. We'll definitely make sure we get as much participation from those schools as possible. So really, really cool stuff. And I just +1 Andy's sentiment on the landing pages is awesome. Like really, really well done. And then maybe you didn't take the compliment from Jonathan on the grant, but I still think that I can't say on almost any interaction that I have that ends up talking about this effort and just how far it's gotten from like a tiny hope to something like very concrete and very real. There is a lot of gratitude that comes your way, Joe. So it's not a sentiment just on this call, but it's the community at large. I think it's been very noticed, and I think kind of people are like, I don't know how, somehow we got lucky that this got on Joe's plate and he took it on and didn't let it go. And anyway, so that just like a real gratitude from the community to you.
Amir, thank you. And Jonathan, as always, thank you. But I think it's better to do this from Seattle because I would be a real pain in the ass if I was local. I'll just leave it at that. So you all take care. Any other thing, Franklin?
No, that's it, Joe. I'll if I need something, I'll give you a call. So.
All right, take care. Goodbye, Andy. See
Bye.
you now. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Joe. All right, it's just wonderful news, indeed, and exciting. The children's art program, it's a great way to conclude this. Let's return to our agenda then, Franklin, with an update on the digital services strategy. So 6.2.
So, yeah, really, I it's just left there just in case we want to discuss something, but I haven't gotten back to that in a while. So we're still just where we were. So it still needs to be updated. It's just also trying to make sure that we still have the funding to cover all the different pieces that we have. And I have to get back to looking at the stats to see how well it's doing. Because like I said, the last time we were having problems with Udemy because of the mobile hotspots. We're not letting people log into them properly because the mobile hotspots put them outside the city limits. And that doesn't give them access to Udemy, which is really frustrating if you need to access that, and the only way you can get internet at your house is with the mobile hotspot. So it's really frustrating. But otherwise, there's no more on that.
Okay. On to new business items. We just heard from Joe. So that would take us to you on the strategic plan workshop.
Yeah, so Amir had sent out a document that I was going to send out, but then when I looked at it, it was changed, Amir. The one document you'd sent me. I thought you had sent me like a draft of a mission statement.
Yeah, it shouldn't have changed. I can look it up. I didn't.
Well, so Cyril, I'll show you the one when I open it up. It's like, this looks different. So I don't know if maybe Jonathan and you guys had gotten into it and talked, but
no. It's still the same. I don't have a chat here, but I can post the link.
So this was you can see this is what you sent me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. For some reason, I thought you had a little chunk, so maybe I just feel like it was more. But and the Barbara has that her hand too. But my screen share real quick. Barbara, did you have a question or a comment? You can unmute yourself.
No, I wondered whether I should give my input and hang up, Franklin. So
well, because you're still done on the list, but I wanted you to be part of the strategic plan process too.
That's fine, Franklin. Go ahead then. Please go ahead.
So this was a good point, but I wanted to remind everybody that we are the community services department. So at some point in time, we'll develop a statement for the whole department, a mission statement. But this I thought was a really great jumping off point from what Amir had brought together. So it is the big thing that we had talked about when we started this process was not worrying about the building, because we know the building was our biggest obstacle. But now that sort of alleviating itself, that we got the grant and the process started to go. So hopefully we'll have this done before we get in the building. Because I realize that this is a lot of work for one person. So this was a starting point, and then so I have done this little funny one that shows you basically what the end will be. So right now, recreation doesn't have a mission statement.
Franklin, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I can't read the font. It's too
Oh,
small for me. So if you can make your screen a little bigger for.
Let me close that.
Nope, now that's
Not too big.
now it's disappeared. There we go. Yeah, now I can read. Thank
So
you.
this, so right now, recreation doesn't have a mission statement, nor does the city of Larkspur. So I realized that when I started looking into stuff, because you really want to go off of what the city does, but we don't have a strategic plan for the city. We have master plans for various different things, but we don't have a strategic plan, or at least a mission statement or a vision statement, or at least not one that's published on the website. So this is something I'll need to go back to talk to my boss. But right now, this is our current mission statement that we have. And what it was trying to do is encompass a lot of stuff in a little statement. The lifelong learning, fostering love of reading, because we want to promote reading from pre-K all the way to retirement. We want to make sure that people love the library. So this is why it sort of covers a lot of stuff, but a lot of stuff that it doesn't cover is like, stuff that's really, that we need to think about, and what we're thinking about as directors across MarinNet, and that's equity, diversity, and inclusion. So, so none of the statements have that in it, and it was just something I wanted to make sure that we talked about, because I think we talked about it before about accessibility, trying to make sure that our material is accessible to the public, whether you're hearing impaired, vision impaired, or disabled, that you should still be able to access the library and the library services. But eventually too, we want them to be able to access recreation services too. But in the end, we'll have a community service mission statement that will encompass both divisions, because the goal is to wrap us together, at least a little better than we are right now. So, so that at some point we'll do that as well, because crafting a mission statement does take a lot of work too. And a lot of thought, and you guys will help with that process. But back to Amir's thing. So this is, can you see that one okay, Amir?
Yes.
Okay, so Amir brought up a lot of good points. It's like the stuff that what hasn't changed in the same period. A lot of these things were really, really great. And but I thought this would be a great place to discuss, and then we can figure out what else we need to do. Because even the opportunities of pandemic, things that you don't think about, because the pandemic's going to have a long-lasting effect on a lot of different things, commutes, working from home, the different kinds of stuff. Even like today, they were talking at council. We, stuff that's inside a building that we normally would have done inside, we've been forced to move it outside just because it creates social distancing. The hope is with the new Rose Lane Library, we'll have an outdoor space to do children programming for crafts, things that we do outside on good days. But then it's also, a safe place for kids to go and not have to worry about them walking down the street and stuff. But I'd just like to get you guys' feedback, and then we can discussion stuff.
I think this is a great framework. So I thank you, Amir, for putting this forth.
Oh.
Franklin, how would you like to foster a conversation on this?
Well, because I still think there's things that we still need to figure out. We still need to figure out the questions for the needs assessment, because we need to get that going. At some point in time, we'll need to schedule some, focus groups around. So I need to figure out when would the best time to do focus groups would be. Because we know that November and December are not the best months to do that in, because I'm on vacation and all the holidays are coming.
Somebody has another conversation going. That's.
Oh, I think it might be Barbara. Hang on a second.
Okay, it's quieter now. Thanks.
Okay, I just muted Barbara. Okay, so so that's those are the things. I know that I finally got the staff's SWOT analysis done before we lost Jessica. I still would like to do our support groups. So if they could help with that, with the Friends of the Library, the Commons, and the Foundation to help us, identify some of our strengths and weaknesses and opportunities. But I think the big one now is just our needs assessment. We need to start working on the kinds of questions we want to ask people.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, if you don't mind, Franklin, I shared. I mean, I put this together when I was trying to put together my SWOT analysis, kind of like input, and I kept struggling with like this sort of without a purpose, like without the why and what it is like we're really trying to serve in the community. It's really hard to narrow down and like go through that prioritization of where should we focus on, what should we go do, and in many ways, I think this opportunity, like we have this new building is a gift, not just because it's a better facility and a bigger facility, but it also uniting, the recreation library into one body in one, roof, or maybe not all roof, but some outdoor space. But it's sort of like, it just gives us real creative freedom to do something very unique for Larkspur. And I think it's, in some ways, I mean, I think I even look at the broader, the libraries that I think we all really love and respect that do have amazing facilities. Even those haven't like materially changed in decades plus, right? Like it's very much the same kind of the same set of services and what you would expect to get if you walked into a library 20 odd years ago, with like some additional like digital spins on it. And I think that's sort of like opening this up to a little bit of a like giving ourselves and giving the community a chance to weigh in on what would be maybe not a complete like a 180 on everything, but what are some of the ways we could actually go outside the box. But I don't think we can do that unless we really challenge ourselves to come up with a purpose, like a mission that then inspires and motivates us to come up with those answers.
Well, in that's it's they're the same. Like finding out what people need helps us create that mission, and that was the whole purpose of the strategic plan. It's like, where does our community really want us to go and what to provide? The problem with libraries from even 20 years ago, and I worked at one that had done a remodel to make it bring it up to time, but one of the things they never thought about was like, nobody knew that everybody was going to walk around with a cell phone that was your little computer, and you need power. And that was when I left Coronado. That was the biggest problem we had, is that we had this great facility, but there was no electricity anywhere in the main part of the library because we just didn't think about it. We thought people just want the catalog computers. That was it. We didn't think that people were bringing their laptops in. We didn't think people needed to charge their phones. And so we had this huge problem because we didn't have power in the building. There was no, we were going to have to cut into the floor and run tunnels to put in new electrical lines. The good thing about the new space is that we know this going in, so we could have that modern, but we also need to make sure that we make it modern enough that it can keep moving forward, and as technology develops, different things come into power. And even as our book collections change, because I know we have the digital collection, and then we have our print collection. Today, someone talked about, partnering with the schools. And, the problem with that is that the school curriculum changes all the time, but what doesn't change is that core reading. And usually for us to have more copies of a book that they're reading at school provides more access to the students to come into the library and get it if they forgot it at home, they didn't get a copy, they could get a copy, because otherwise parents are buying those books and things like that. So having an in-depth collection helps a lot, and new space to do that. But again, the new footprint it's not huge. It's basically, it will give us the same space that we have right now with the council chambers, which would be our community room, because we just use that space. But the layouts and stuff like that will still have to be determined, and how much space we can get for the money we have. So
I understand all of this, and I appreciate that, but I do believe that a mission statement transcends all the how we are delivering. It truly means, what is it that we want to achieve for and with our community? And whether we do it with pencils or we do it with the latest gadget, it is not that is a question that is answered by architects, by designers, by planners, by budget makers. What our mission, and I believe that's what Amir is looking for, that what it is, what place do we want to hold within our community? Do we want to serve everyone? Yes. Do we want to serve everyone in every way they need it? Yes. Do we know what are those ways? No. Do we want to be, so that is what we need to find out, that what is it we want to do, for whom, and how do we plan on doing this, and if it, and all the other details of outlets, or well, that is beyond the mission statement.
So does the current mission statement still do that for you guys? Do you feel that in the current mission statement?
How different is it from other libraries? And I mean, are there other libraries who have mission statements? Could we take a look at them, and could we say, this does not reflect that, what is important to us as a community? The part that Amir put in terms of a place where everyone can go, I don't have it there, but where it's still a destination, I believe that it is very important in Larkspur, because we don't have any other destination. We do not have a community center. We do have a small theater, but it's not a place where we can gather anytime. So that is, to me, is the bullseye of one of the things that makes us different from other libraries. We can be the focal point. We are the forum. We are where everybody could. So that might be an element that is. So if we could look at other libraries' mission statements and see what they
have in them,
goals
okay,
are, and which are ours and which are not, and incorporate them.
Yeah, and it's
that would help me.
totally. And one of the things that's interesting, you know, when we look at the current efforts, there's some basic getting people matched up to books, you know, it's like supply and demand on just delivering the right set of content that people want. But then there's all of this peripheral services and things that we try to go figure out, okay, where are we gonna zone in around those services? And I think that's, if, for example, on Armel's point of like, okay, we're going to try to unite and bring the community together around the knowledge. Like, central theme is always knowledge, right? Like that we're trying to get people to fall in love with learning and coming, having a place, right, that they can come in and do that. It's like, let's make it fun and interactive and social, and you know, and it's like, those are the things that I think we can take advantage of, like 20 years of just like so much change, you know, there's like more same of the, like, not only do you have the same volume of books getting printed, now you've got massive, you know, loads of blogs and, you know, short form stuff. And it's like good luck, you know, keeping up with like 10% of the stuff is like incredibly complex and difficult. And I just think there's such an amazing benefit that we can gain by focusing our efforts on a mission that this team feels great about, the community feels great about, and then that allows us to then really maybe, you know, cut a bunch of stuff, you know, and just like say, okay, we're going to go centrally focus on these things, this amazing facility, and then that kind of feeds off all of this, you know, and it's timely because, you know, you're about to go out and make a bunch of decisions about layouts, and you know, the city's going to do all this amazing stuff. So if we have an opinion on that, I think it'll make some, you know, make it a much more informed design.
Yeah, well, and the big thing too is like, we know a point of weakness for the library is our website. That is still this cumbersome. They promised a refresh 2 years ago at the beginning of the pandemic, and we still haven't gotten it. This is the barrier to promoting our services that we currently have. They're not, we can't get all that stuff out because it gets buried within the website. And so we know that that's a place, it's a weakness for us, and that has to be fixed as well. Because there are all these things that we do have and we do now that no one knows about. Some people will have more knowledge of it now, but I still think there's a huge chunk that still don't know that we have these resources for them. And that's why outreach is, to me, is very important, because you get to those people who don't realize that they have these services, that they're in town, because they might be new to town and they just didn't see the library when they drove through town, because unless you really slow down and are looking around at the stop sign, you don't realize that the library is right inside City Hall. You just think, oh, that's City Hall, and you drive by. We keep joking that we need a teen out there on the weekends with the big open sign with the arrow, because we feel like nobody's coming in. Even though we put a press release out with our hours, we still, I don't think the newspaper ever picked it up, which is frustrating. So we know that we're missing people, and then it didn't help that we have these sporadic closures now that we're not able to stay open the hours that we want. And I still know that people are missing our later hours when we used to be open till 7, and we used to be open on Monday. So those are the kind of things. But these are all great points. But for a needs assessment, because those are two, that's how we get this out to the community, is we need to ask those questions of what they would want in the needs assessment, but also focus groups too. So
in meetings past, you've said it's helpful for us to give you input on questions. Would you like that via email, or should we create a Google Doc that's shared where we could collaborate and also then see what other people are suggesting, which might trigger thoughts and riff on that? Do you have a preference? Does the rest of the board have a preference?
Well, I do think that the Google Doc would just be not something in line with. It might be looked as a meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought about that. You're right. It's like
that would work. It would be construed as being.
Yeah, it would be a violation of the Brown Act. So because you would be meeting in conjunction without people seeing. So
but we can send them to you, and then you just
You can synthesize it and then summarize it.
Well, no, and that's like what I did with the SWATs. I put everybody's info together, and it's like I'm still working on getting all the staff, because the staff, you guys get sentences and the staff gave little short word answers. So it's a big difference. So we use Post-it notes, and that was originally what I wanted to do with you guys, is to use the Post-it notes, because I took all the staff Post-it notes and put them into the document. But like I said, I still need to get some more input from our funders, so to make sure that they have a say in what we're doing and how we're getting to this stuff. So because they're also the great point to ask people to reach out for us to get those surveys filled out. So but yeah, if you send me questions, that's great, because then I can compile them together and bring them back. So we'll have that document. My other question is, like, we do focus groups, when do you think the best time of year to do those would be?
Not sure. That's a tough one.
I mean, are there any forcing functions or driving dates? I mean, I always think sooner is better. And if could we get ahead of the November, December holiday and lull? Because otherwise we'd be waiting several months.
Because November is generally when I'm on vacation, and that's right before Thanksgiving. And then December, we have the holidays and schools are out. So, but we could do sometimes in December. November is really not a good month either. So, but that's why I kept thinking, maybe if we do it right at the beginning of the new year, we're able to do that. But
so who would be in those focus groups? It would be just the board members? It would
no, the focus group would be, we're going to try to reach out and get some community members to come in, because we really need the community's feedback. So we want to make sure that we get members of the community come in. So we would let patrons know here in the library. We try to reach out to the groups around us to see if they could send people to come and sit at a focus group and talk about the kinds of things that they want.
Shouldn't we have a mission first, or shouldn't we have
No,
an idea?
We should not have a mission first. The mission is strategic planning. Our mission statement will come from that focus group. All that work will help us bring that mission statement together.
I think it'll help inform it, right? I mean, it's a really valuable piece of input. It's not the entirety of it, but I think it's very valuable and important. I agree that we need to hear from the community that we're serving what's valuable to them, what do they want, what are they currently using, and there could be things that they don't even know about. There could be things that are obvious to them that we're not realizing.
I mean, the one opportunity, since we're going to have that opportunity to get that feedback, I mean, it would be nice to the extent that we have a point of view on some of the ways we want the evolution, like things that we do think should be the focus of the library going forward and our services. And that's something I do think this would be an opportunity to get that feedback, right, on whether that's resonating or not. So maybe that's kind of that could be an opportunity to figure that out either at the next meeting or some working session of really making sure the board, like Jonathan, right, Armel, Andy, like we all get to really say this is what we view, right, as like a truly remarkable like new chapter for the library and what would make us, go over the moon. And then in the focus group say like, okay, is this resonating with the community? Do they feel the same, right? If because I think in the absence of that, if it's like an open, canvas, it'd be very difficult to glean
Correct.
real insights.
Well, I mean, but any kind of insight is insight. So if we have people come and they don't know we have all these services, then we figured, then that shows us right there we need more marketing. If we have people come in and they're looking for something, they don't come, like the lady who told me she doesn't come here anymore because of parking. I mean, that was great insight because that's the reason why people don't come here, they can't park. So, and you don't get those from just our patrons who come in here know us. They know us, and so they come in here. It's the people who don't come in here are the ones that we're not really sure. Why are they not coming here? Are the services better at Corte Madera? Are the services better in San Rafael? I mean, what's drawing you to go to those libraries versus your own library? And those are the things we need to know. But getting that feedback from the community. But for us, Armel, to have a mission statement beforehand,
Yes,
we have one. We have one that's on our website. That is our mission statement right now. And hopefully when we're done with this process, we'll have a new mission statement. So we'll evolve the other one into a new one, but also creating to make sure that we bring in recreation as well, because that is part of our charge now. Community services part of, they're both divisions together.
So when you say a focus group, I mean bringing people in, but that means that finding a date and a time that so many people can accommodate. How about putting ourselves out there, and then asking people and as people walk by, just asking them for a minute, but we need to have a question. What is the one question that somebody will ask? What do you expect from the library? Do you know where the library is? Any program that you wish we had? And I don't know, we sit in front of the peso and we just ask everybody who walks by. Friday night,
I'm trying to figure out when is the next community event that we'd be outside having an event. We missed the wine stroll. The wine stroll almost didn't happen for the library, but that would have been a perfect time to do it, because what was funny is we had some CDs and Barbara was there at the wine stroll that people thought, well, why do you have these museum pieces out? That's what the library staff kept hearing. And it was just funny because it was I didn't think we'd get that reaction from the public, but we were getting this reaction. Like they were just sort of stunned why we had all these DVDs and CDs out there, not realizing we were just ready to give them away because we already had copies of these in the library. But those are the kind of opportunities we could talk about, and the staff loved it because they were able to talk to people about the library.
The practicality of getting people from all walks of life to all be in the same room with somebody.
It's hard to do.
In a city that doesn't have very many meeting rooms either. That's the other hard part.
So,
I mean, I think
more realistic is how should we go door to door? Should we canvass?
That's what I was hoping we could do, that send out the survey with these questions to ask people too.
But people don't return surveys.
I know.
I know that the city had a survey and they got a very measly, from what I heard, not that many people return it. You have to be in people's face and ask them a question that they can answer right away. And then sometimes they come back with an elaborate answer. But if we really, really want to know what they're thinking, we have to be right there, where they are. Not come to us, be where they are. So
I think to
Yeah.
Armel's point, you could get a good diverse set of people just setting up a little table out there and asking questions, because whether you did it like lunchtime or after school or dinner time, you get a lot of flow, right there on the sidewalk. And I mean, I think you could definitely get the type of feedback that we're looking for just by being out there talking to people. I'm kind of with Armel on that. I think it'd be really hard to get people in like one room necessarily, right? One side note is I did look up mission statements for Bell Tibb Library and San Rafael, and they are basically one sentence. They don't really talk about kind of a meeting place, and I actually think our mission statement relative to those two resonates a lot more with me. So I think what we have in our mission statement is definitely something to build on, right? The last part that I really like, it says to act as a responsive resource for independent lifelong learning, to provide a comfortable space and opportunities to gather and connect, and by fostering a love of reading. Like that resonates with me, right? Whereas you look at the San Rafael one, which I like, it just says engage, empower, and enrich our community through innovation, imagination, and inspiration. Like, yeah, I like that, but I think ours tells a little bit more of a story, and I think we could, given some of the feedback, tell an even better story. But I think the kind of bones of it is pretty good,
So,
just from what I was looking at.
Barbara has her hand raised again.
Yes, Barbara. Franklin, can you let?
Well, no, I moved her up to the
I
panel,
think-
so she's a panelist now.
I think she's had her hand up for
Oops.
some time.
Oh, no. Actually, I did just put it up. Sorry. And
Hi,
there I
Barbara.
am. Hi, everybody. How are you? Before we leave the focus group, I just wanted to say I come down on Franklin's side pretty heavy on this one. A focus group is generally led by, an independent person who, is asking a broad range of questions. And people are really chosen, randomly, but specifically too. And I don't see any, and by the way, they're oftentimes paid a very nominal fee for their time. So I think if we really wanted to get independent, neutral, useful information, a focus group is a really good way to go. That's all I wanted to say. I vote for you, Franklin.
Well, I mean,
I think the other advantage is the distribution, right? We wouldn't bias the
Right.
audience. If we do if we do it by Perry's, we're gonna get one demographic. If we go
Yeah.
to Cummins, we get one. So it's like
Even if we do our neighborhood, we're gonna get, a certain slant. Yeah, it has to be really independent.
I mean, and that's why, like even our community survey, we paid a company to help run that, because
Yeah.
they're the ones that are driving behind it to get people to fill those, surveys out, to get the returns, so we get a higher return rate than if it was just us doing it by ourselves. Because like we could send out a survey, like hand it out at the desk,
Yeah.
but we're only hitting people who come to the library already. They're
Right.
our users. Those are the ones that we know what they want because they're asking for it all the time. It's finding out what the ones that we're not talking to are looking
Right.
for, are the ones who decide to go somewhere else. The reasons why they don't come here.
Yeah.
And that helps us, find those things out. But yeah, the focus group for me was just like trying to get a little group of people from various demographics, various parts of the city to come in and just talk about the library in general, and then talk about the things that they would want to do and see to come here, and why would they would decide. I know once we're in the new facility, we'll be much more on a heavily traffic for the youth and the parents. With a bigger parking lot, we'll have more people coming to the library because they have parking. So that's a huge, because so right now the barrier here is parking and for ADA access. Those are our biggest barriers in this building. Because like I was talking to somebody who has an adult son who's handicapped, and the ramp is too steep for him to get up here, even though the ramp was built in the ADA law back in the day, but it's still not that accessible. And so the new building will create a much more equitable access, and it's going to be along a major corridor, just like we are now, but it's much more visible. And especially if they put the building on the corner, like the plan is to, it's really visible because it's right there on the corner. So,
I think that,
Franklin, do you need the Friends to pay for this?
well, we may, if we need to get a consultant, Barbara, we would have to look to see how much it would cost. So that might be
Yeah.
something, you know.
Okay.
I mean, if I might suggest that we consider doing both, because I think there's a strong case that we could have the best of both in this case.
Yeah.
I'm familiar, with lots of focus group, formats, and I think you really do gain insights if you're if you're very deliberate in how you select people to attend, and you have a good, objective moderator. They're wonderful, and it's very different from a man on the street interview, which I volunteer for. I mean, I also really think it's great for us to stay, in touch with community. And I think we'd learn different things from, the on the street interview. And I don't think there's a reason not to do both. And we can have both types of feedback and take it all in. And I do think the focus group will come with a price tag to do it well. So I think, Barbara, it is something that we could just explore with you and friends and just understand what that would cost.
Yeah.
Well, too, if I keep thinking maybe we should have hired someone to do the strategic plan, because that company would bring the people to do the focus group, but that would be part of the package probably. And I just don't know how much that would cost, especially for the size of our library community. So
Yeah. And timing. The question is timing. When do you do it?
yeah, then that's what right now we know that we're coming right up to the holiday season. And at some point I still need to get the Parks and Rec up to date. We haven't had a meeting in 5 months with Parks and Recreation just because we haven't had quorum. So we keep missing the meetings, and so their agenda is getting longer and longer and longer. And I don't want to add this to it yet until we can get some of the stuff back down to a sizable thing, because I think next Thursday's meeting is going to be really, really, really long because we still have a public hearing. But the library board has met more than the Parks and Rec Commission, and so they're getting further and further behind in this process because we haven't even been able to talk about it there yet. So, Armel, you're muted. Okay.
To go back to the question of timing, if we backtrack from when we would need this, is this information that would be needed for the designers and architect to devise so we don't really have a time frame. It's only that we want to get it done, but it's not something that we have
yeah, and like I said at the very beginning, this is going to be separate from the building, because the strategic plan will follow us for so many years, right, wherever we're at. Right. So we don't, that was why I said we knew that was the elephant in the room, was the building. We know that that's our biggest issue, and it's one of our biggest barriers for programming, for a lot of stuff. So and even then, it's going to be a couple years before we move into that building. So we're going to have I wanted to create at least a 3 or 5 year long strategic plan that we could have going. And then once we're into that, then we would look and see, did we accomplish all the stuff that we had set out to do? Or where did we fall down, and where do we need to look at what got missed before we would create another one?
Another question on that was that, is there something that is going to be asked the community for the building that could be used by us for our mission statement and strategic planning?
That I'm not sure.
Information maybe gathered from the community that we could, I don't want to say poach, but where it could be used for 2 different but related purposes. And then we could maybe see how they're going to go about that and collaborate with them.
Yeah, I was gonna just actually, maybe this is what you're asking for. I mean, that was my question, is the city separately getting feedback from the community in the design requirements for the new building that's going to serve for the library and recreation purposes?
Well, right now, recreation is still not part of that building. It is just the library, because that's how the grant state grant money was what was given to us. But right now, I think they're using most of the feedback that was gotten the last time that stopped the process, and as well as what they had gotten to create the process, or to create the first design that they had before I got hired here. So there are a lot of those parts, but I'm not, a lot of the public feedback, I'm not really sure how that's going to work. But that's why it was important to make sure that people go to these council meetings when they hear what's going on. And yeah, so I'll check with my boss to see how we're going to do that. So maybe we could just, throw in this couple of questions here and there to see what kind of feedback we get. But I know a lot of the design though was, I think they're, because it's a design build.
Yeah. I mean, to the extent that, so much of this, what is the purpose? Like, what's the mission? And then how are we going to really think critically through what we need to focus on delivering to the community? I mean, it feels really intertwined if we have this opportunity to shape the space in a way that fits that input. I mean, we really want to make that a unified body. And I do think, then going back to Armel's first question, I do think we want to be an input right into that, or tag along if somebody else is collecting it. We want to just join forces.
And how many surveys or questionnaires or focus group will our small community about the life to them? What is the difference, whether it is regarding the library building or regarding the library programs or function or mission? It's still time that is.
Well, too, and I know planning just did the housing element, community surveys, and they just had focus groups for that as well. So people may be tired of hearing from the city. So those are the things we got to find out. So I'll check with my boss to make sure to see what's going to happen. So if we can tag along to that makes it easier. But I'll also investigate how much it would cost for our strategic planning process. But
it would be really good to hear what information is being used, what information they already have, and how much of it we could, actually it's public information, how we could get that information. This way we know what we have and we know what else we need to get, rather than just starting from square one.
Yeah, well, and too, the community also has changed since that time too. So I need to go, because I know we do have it all. Everything that was done is on the website, on the city website. So I just need to go back through and see what parts that we can cherry pick from. Because I know, like I said, some of it was that input is what's helped that initial design of the building that they had about a while back.
Well, that was a long time ago.
Franklin, does Jonathan or does anyone from the board come in for an update from the library to the city council meetings? Is that because I know LCMSC does that for.
Well, though in January, that's when we send them the letter that says what we've done. But I can invite them to the next meeting, our council, because we do have a council member rep. For a while, our council member was coming to the meetings, but we haven't had them for a while. So we can always have them come back, because they're the ones that would give us that update too. So I'll make sure we send an invitation to invite them to the next meeting. So
I do actually think that this is very important. We do want to have the community at large to be part of the process. But at this point, the same way that Joe was pointing out how the city council and the foundation have worked together, at this point, it is important for us, the commission, dependent of the city, knows and hear what the city is doing with the library and how they're getting information. So having a city council member come to our next meeting and telling us how they're going to go about getting all that information would be very helpful.
Okay, so yeah, and like I said, I was going to send you a link to the recording once it's posted, so you guys can all watch what happened today at today's meeting, because it was a really positive meeting. Like Joe said, it was really looking at the library part of it, and then looking at maybe what possibilities for City Hall, and that was still they're still not sure where City Hall is going to go, if it's going to come back here, if it's going to go to that's still all up in the air for the council to make decisions on and to think about. So at some point in time, I know they're going to ask the council to make a decision, because there's all these different factors that can weigh into construction if you do things at the same time. But then also because I know the council members were talking about having one giant building for both. But again, we know that the money that's earmarked for the library in the grant has to be spent just on the library. And so that's why we're still waiting for the details and this stuff that we're supposed to get from the state. So once we get that, we'll really know exactly what we can and cannot spend it on. And that really will define what we're able to do. And that's packet we're still waiting to get from the state. So, and that was what the Director Skinner said to the council. And so, like I said, once I get the link for that, I'll send it out to you so you guys can watch it. It was only little, I want to say the first 45 minutes are all about the library, and then the rest of it is about the council or about City Hall. And also talking about shared space, because right now we share space with City Hall. So our community room is the council chamber. So when we use that, otherwise we just repurpose the library stuff. And I'm hoping to get away from that. A new space should hopefully we'll have a just dedicated space for a multi-purpose room. So
great. All right. Thank you, Franklin. Armel, great points. Thank you. And I've heard, Franklin, you will action those. I look forward to the updates and the links. To keep us moving forward, Franklin, is there any more on 7.2, which was your update on the strategic plan workshop?
No, this was what I wanted to get from you guys. I needed some feedback and some input, and then it's going to be a little while, but like I said, there's some point in time too. We'll either have both. We'll have a joint meeting of the commission, Parks and Rec, and the library, so we can have you both together, so we really can make sure that we're, because like I said, in the end is to have a community service mission statement. Even though we know the library is within it, we just want to make sure that we're aligned together under the umbrella of community services, because we're in one department. So
yeah, and recognizing the Brown Act and proper conduct, looking more at Amir, the doc that you had sent in that Franklin you've shared that we have access to.
Yeah, it'll go into the board packet when I give that to Allison, so it'll be archived.
Yeah. But if we want to have either a working session or just provide more input on that, should we send it just straight to you, Franklin? You can synthesize so that we're not.
Well, right now I think only you and Amir and me have access. So the rest of the board could send in comments and we can add to it, but you and Amir could still work on it together. And at some point we were going to meet. I did want to have a meeting. Amir had asked for that, but I just hadn't had a chance to schedule it. So.
Okay, so that is something that you will schedule? Okay, great, thank you.
Because we need to make sure that we're all have the same availability that we can talk, and I have to juggle my giant schedule with all my other meetings.
Franklin, I shared the link with Armel and Andy, so they had a view access to the doc.
Oh.
Do you want to get edit access to you and Jonathan so you can?
Yeah, if you can give us to edit it, but if they have the viewable, as long as only us can edit it, I think that wouldn't be a violation. So, okay. And like I said, the current document right now will go into the board packet. So I'll download a copy just to get to Allison. So
okay, excellent. Thank you. And I think we can move along to item 8 and Barbara to hear a status update from the Friends from you.
Well, good evening, everybody. Hello. Geez, my stuff is going to be so boring compared to what Joe talked about and what you guys have talked about. But I did want to mention that as I was in the car waiting, and we were talking about other things, Michelle Melka with her youngest baby, Grace, walked by, and I had a chance to say hello to her. She was, can you see me, guys?
Yeah, here we can see you.
Okay, just making sure. She's here from Barcelona for a couple weeks. And she said she's doing very well and her baby's so beautiful. So it was nice to see her. It was, and particularly, and she told me to say hello to everybody. So hello from Michelle. So very quickly, just an update on the Friends. We are sort of getting back to normal. We had a really nice meeting last week. We were able to have champagne and cake for Franklin to say thank you for his marvelous work on our grant. We're so happy. We did not get drunk, did we, Franklin?
No,
We just,
didn't.
we were able to just do our work in a very happy mood, and the cake was really appreciated by all. So that was a great meeting. We published our quarterly newsletter called Among Friends, where we highlighted Lori and Terry, two very important members of our library community who've done so much in terms of fundraising. And then one of our projects for the fall will be our traditional season of giving. It's our end of year joint campaign with the Commons Foundation, where we send out a letter around Thanksgiving, just so people have a chance to give to the library and include it on their in their tax planning before the end of the year. And it actually does very well. So that'll be the focus of our efforts in November. And then in December 3rd, we have already scheduled a holiday tea with Elaine Petrocelli at Book Passage, which will open to all of our members and to anyone in our library community who wants to attend. We used to charge for it, but we like just getting people in. It's a very popular event, and people really seem to enjoy hearing about her favorite reads for the year and doing their Christmas shopping. That's December 3rd, which is a Saturday at noon, and you're very welcome to attend. And finally, I would just say that I did see Jessica last Thursday night, Franklin. We did, my board did authorize a gift, a thank you gift to her for $100, and I sent off the card. We generally do that for library employees who leave, but I saw her at an event at Bell Tibb called Pop-Up, which was very, very well done. I like to go and see what the competition is doing, just to sort of get ideas. I also had a chance to meet, I think her name is Crystal Franklin.
Yeah, Crystal Duran, yeah.
Yeah, the new director there, and see the Bell Tibb Library. That was the first time I had seen it. So, we're just doing our regular stuff here, trying to raise money for the day-to-day operations at the library. And I would say all is going well. We have a new member, Susan Bryson. I don't know, Armel, if you know her. She's just a heavyweight and a wonderful person. She lives on Elm Avenue, and she'll be joining our group. And we also had two younger members join us at this recent meeting. One a teacher from the Cove School, and the other a teacher from another part of the county. But we recognize that we need some young blood and some more blood. So we are adding to our group. So if you know anyone who is interested, we would be happy to have them join us, in coming meetings. So that's it from the Friends. I appreciate all the work that you guys do. And does anyone have any questions?
No, thanks for sharing the events. I just pulled up the calendar. I did not actually know about these upcoming events. So I've now bookmarked them.
Are they not on, they're not on my, what calendar are you looking at?
No, they're up. I mean, it's on your calendar. I just hadn't
Oh, good.
gotten a notification when they were added in. So anyway, I see them now, and
Okay, love to see,
yeah.
love to see you, Amir. Would be great to catch
good.
up. Everything's good here, though. Hope things are well with everyone.
Awesome.
Barbara, I do have a question. Has the board ever been interviewed by Alice?
Has the board been interviewed? Yes, all of the members have been interviewed. So
the library board. I know you're a board member, so
the
library board would be
the
good.
trustees, the trustees. Yeah, no, we could probably move on to some of the trustees. That would be a great idea. We should start with our current president. That would be the way to go. Okay, that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Barbara.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Barbara.
Yeah, Jonathan, that means you. So we're coming towards, we'll be in touch.
Bring it. I welcome it. Open arms.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow, Armel. Bye-bye.
Bye, Barbara. So we
Okay.
didn't get an update from the Larkspur Library Foundation, though we met in September. So yeah, but they haven't given an update yet. So
Okay.
And you heard from Joe.
Yeah, we heard from Joe. So the next item, future agenda items. Are there suggestions that anybody would like to raise?
Armel, you're muted.
We talked about a bunch of stuff during the strategic planning. I don't know if we could just wrap those into.
Yeah, I think a lot of those will be, because that will be another workshop for us, but it'll be wrapped into that. And I'll try to send stuff out far enough of time, especially once I'm going to have Gianni help me track down a bunch of mission statements from surrounding libraries, and then further out.
Yeah.
And also get what the city already has and what
Mhm.
material they're working for. This is where we don't go fishing for the very same thing, and we know what we're missing.
Yeah, well, I know for the mission statements that's they didn't do. So that, but I'm going to ask Shannon too.
I'm talking in terms of community outreach,
input, yes.
whatever information they've gathered.
Mhm.
What are they looking at so that we can look at the whole pie and see what's missing?
Okay.
Yep.
Franklin,
And have I really liked it when we had years ago a council member who was present. It gave some background information that was valuable. So that would be really good.
Yeah, I'll find out who are because they know they rotate every year. So we'll figure out who it is, and then they'll invite you to the next meeting to make sure they're here. So or keep pestering them till they show up. So.
Franklin, I was just gonna say, given that the staffing, and we're back to like having staffing challenges, and it would be maybe as an agenda item, is there any way we could tap? I mean, there's so many volunteering systems in the school. Anytime we have staffing shortage and people step up, we figure out kind of ways to pitch in and contribute. Is there any way we could kind of as part of either, honestly, like even myself, we're happy to volunteer, and come in and help.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because before we lost this librarian, I was talking to the director of San Rafael about, we should create a pool of substitutes so we could pull for them, and especially because like there's a few libraries like Larkspur that were really short staffed and or they staff it less.
Excellent. That is an excellent. And do they have to be from Larkspur? Can they be?
Well, no. They would be any librarian who work in the area. Correct. Because
that
they
is
would
an
build
excellent
accounts.
idea.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that is completely.
Yeah, and I think this advisory board you're doing with high school is so cool, and like ways if we could tap in. I mean, I worked at the library when I was in high school, and it's like I still have such cool memories of that. And anyway, I mean, let's get creative, like this staffing thing is real. Like it's not just our library. I think there are a lot of places that are having a hard time, getting talent right now. And let's just, I love it. It sounds like you're already on one creative zone, but as a potential agenda item, if there are things that you want to tap or you want to access and you need the board or want the board's help, let us know how we can help.
Okay. Thank you.
I second that.
I'll triple it because the volunteering, it's powerful. People want to help. I would volunteer. I mean,
well, too, and like we only have one adult volunteer now. That's Helise. She's the so I know that at some point because I was talking to another director about that we need a way of bringing in new volunteers because we lost a lot during the COVID era, so we need to restock our pool of volunteers. And like even I was talking to the staff when I was sick that have you ever had a volunteer help at checkout? And that was something we did in Coronado. We had a good chunk for years of volunteers who did certain things in the library. That was the task that came in. They worked for 2 hours at the checkout desk. Someone worked for 2 hours in processing. Someone worked, they did different things around the building. I remember one lady used to, when they put in OPACs, her whole volunteer job was to stand by the OPAC and show people how to use it.
So yeah, that's definitely a point item of discussion for next time.
Franklin, right now, if somebody wanted to volunteer, could they?
Yeah, I've been, Teresa likes to deflect the adults, but I keep telling her, no, we need to start getting them, making sure that they like what they're doing and they're not causing problems for us. Because as long as they're trained, that's good, so.
Come in and just tell you, I'm
Yeah,
here.
because we just need to have them fill out an application, and I still need to double check with the, if anybody's gonna work with kids, they'll have to be live scanned. So I need to check with HR for that, so.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, item number 10, the next meeting date.
So the next meeting will be in December on, it's at the bottom of this agenda.
November? No, November?
No, November, because November I'm on
Oh,
vacation.
that's right. Sorry.
December 12th is the
Yeah.
date of the next meeting, just to confirm. Is that still conflict-free for everybody here? Good,
All good.
thumbs up.
So far,
Okay.
so good.
Okay, unless there are other items, I will seek a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So
I
moved.
move to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
second, and so moved. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Franklin, and I look forward to the next one and to lots of follow-up in between.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
You'll have a good evening.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.